Yeah.
You'll never walk alone. With hope in your heart.
And welcome to an Adam Gold Show After Dark special. That's Jay Kumar. I am Adam Gold. It has been a minute. And did you know who that was, Jay?
Who that was? No, I did not.
I'll give you a hint. He is actually an officer, a board member, however you want to term it, at Wolverhampton.
Oh, an officer and a board member. Is that your boy? Or
My wife's boy.
Your wife's boy, Robert
My
Plant?
wife's boy. That is Robert Plant.
Awesome.
That is Led Zeppelin. That was actually John Bonham on drums. And yes, that was You Never Walk Alone, as done, at least at a show, by Led Zeppelin. I don't know how far on they, along they got into it, but my wife sent me that text about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Which it was right before we were trying to get one done before everybody went away for January. And so I've just been kind of saving it. And I don't know, we'll keep it maybe until Man City takes over the lead of the Premier League. All right, let's see what we can get done in 30 minutes or however long we're going to do this. The title of this is A Title Race à Trois, because that's what we've got.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to talk about Jurgen Klopp and I don't want to get to Gio Reyna at Nottingham Forest, but I think it was really the last time we spoke, you were kind of down in the dumps.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get why. I mean, it'd been a rough patch. What, a home loss to West Ham is never good.
And Fulham.
But yeah, well, look, losing at Fulham, I just don't see the crime in maybe losing, but still, any away match against the capable side is losable to me.
Yeah.
Especially this year. But right now we've got, with 15 matches left, although City has 16, that'll be taken care of in the next few days, like 2 weeks. We got three sides that, by all accounts, should go right down to the wire. So why don't you tell me where you feel like we are with 15 matches left to play, and we'll go from there.
I think it's going to be fascinating. I think, Liverpool have City and Arsenal play. And so as a result, you kind of look at the interesting part about it is because they can't play each other. The three top sides have the three quote unquote easiest strength of schedules remaining because they don't play each other.
Right.
And because Arsenal don't play Liverpool and only play City, and City have to play both, Arsenal technically have the easiest run in of the three. Because Liverpool,
except you're at City.
Yeah, we do. But because but that's kind of, I guess, the luck of the draw. I don't know how it works out, but I think it's going to come right down to it. I think it's fascinating, kind of in the moment. It can be as our last, month ago when we were doing this, we were talking about the must-win FA Cup game. That might have been a little hyperbolic from me at the time.
Has there ever been a must-win third round FA Cup match? And I say this, I'm brand new to this still, and it's like year 3 for me. I just can't imagine it.
I think it's more psychological. I think honestly, the best thing that came out of that was Liverpool won. That's never good, and it was 3 losses on the bounce for Arsenal. Two of those in the league, only one of those in the FA Cup. So it didn't. It felt worse than it actually was on the table. 2 losses are not great, but they're only 2. But then getting the break and getting the full 2 weeks, whereas we didn't have to play on week 1, we had week 2, I think was really, really important for this team to get away, get healthy. Although coming into this game, Jesus and Party were supposed to be back, and they're both injured. So who knows about that health thing? But psychologically, I think there was a reset for this team, and they have looked better in the last 2 weeks, both against Palace. And frankly, while it was a tight game at times, when you look at it on merit, 3-1, if Arsenal were a little bit more clinical in the first half, which you could say that a lot this year, that game should have been over at halftime. They gifted Liverpool their goal. I think it was a pretty dominant performance, and I think that we should talk about it, and we should talk about what happened with Liverpool and how the game played out, because unfortunately, if you're looking at the commentary, all you're gonna get is celebration policing, and so we can't actually get any analysis. Yeah. So let's actually talk about.
Did Arteta really get a 1-match ban? Did he get a yellow card for the lap?
No. He didn't get carded. I didn't see that. Okay. No, there was the only people. Yeah, no, the only people that are commenting on it are Sky and BBC.
Whatever.
And
everybody's too buttoned up about that. Real quick.
Well, they're not. They're not when it's De Zerbi. They're not when it's Klopp. I mean, and you know what? They shouldn't be. It's fun. This is a game.
Gosh.
The only thing I'm going to say about it is that
I have no problem with it.
The kids stormed Franklin Street. Great. Have fun. I mean, you're playing a sport for fun. Don't talk to me about a manager celebrating a goal in their biggest game of the season to this point.
No, it put away the game that they had to have.
Yeah.
I had zero problem with it. Zero problem with it.
And neither did Klopp, for what it's worth. Neither did Klopp. Which
I can't imagine he would.
If he did, that would be some hypocrisy. But
he's not above being hypocritical at times, just like everybody. But
it was a great match. I think it was a good environment. I think the way Arsenal set up, Kai Havertz and Martin Odegaard dropping in as twin 10s with Jorginho and Declan Rice is kind of twin 8-6 hybrids, created a box that basically, if you watch, whenever McAllister was on the ball, he got pressed from the rear from Declan Rice and pressed from the front from Jorginho and did not have any time to disperse. And then on the flip side, when we got the ball, he had to quickly make a decision. Do I go close down Odegaard or Havertz? Right. And so he was caught in no man's land, and that box shape, really more of a 4-2-2-2 as opposed to a traditional 4-3-3, negated what Liverpool were able to do to Chelsea with kind of a 4-4-2 press that they absolutely mauled that team.
We could just ignore anything that happens against Chelsea, who are officially a mess. Real quick, was the own goal, which should have, if it didn't go in, that's going to end up on the penalty spot anyway, right?
Right.
Okay. Was that any more of a gift than the goal that made it 2-1?
No, I think they wash each other out.
Yeah, I think okay. They're honestly, I think I'm going to give credit to both offensive players. Luis Diaz fought through. And I don't know how the ball that he got anything on the ball to put it back in play. And Martinelli, I thought, forced Van Dijk into a mistake. Wasn't his best game. That was probably the worst game Virgil van Dijk has played this year.
He's been playing with fire the last few games, and some of his mistakes haven't caught up to the team.
But he's generally been playing great. But he wasn't good.
Overall,
he wasn't good in this match.
Good. Yeah.
Actually, Konate has been better, and I'll get to that in a minute. I think Konate has actually been better than Van Dijk, and I don't think Van Dijk's been bad by any stretch.
No, those two. I think these two teams right now, Van Dijk and Konate, Saliba, Gabriel, two best center back pairings on form of late. Saliba and Van Dijk both at fault for their goals.
It's really amazing, isn't it? I don't. It's a Gabriel own goal, but man, I
No,
mean,
he didn't do
what was
anything wrong. I think
what was he going to
I
do?
think you could. I think with 30 seconds to go, that's a ball where if you're Saliba, you hoof it. I don't know
Right,
why he tried to shield and let Rhea come claim. At that
right.
late in the game, you just get it out of there and you live to fight another wave because there's only 30 seconds left. So that was some
Absolutely.
naivety. That's when his calmness can be, your biggest strength can also be your
Right.
biggest weakness. And he is always so calm on the ball that he's like, no, we're gonna play it,
Yeah.
we're gonna move it. And so, he'll
And
learn from it and it'll be all right.
Liverpool's is getting off to a good start in the half, and Virgil play the ball out of the air. If you go up to play the ball out of the air and you get bodied, Anthony Taylor probably blows the whistle. We'll get to Anthony Taylor in a minute. Look, Liverpool was certainly not great. I actually think that the Szoboszlai injury, which came out of nowhere,
he was sick.
Oh, he was sick. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that no Szoboszlai, which means Gravenberch, who has not played great. It's been about a month and a half since he has really played. He's played well coming off the bench, but as a starter, he has not been great. Not having Szoboszlai in there, no Salah, Robertson or Trent not really ready to go the full 60 or the full 90 at this point. Trent coming off for Robertson, which was a surprise. Connor Bradley, his dad passed away. And I remember you and I talked about Bradley way back in the beginning of the season, and I had never seen him before. And everything I'm reading is Klopp loves him.
He's a great player. He looked really sharp against Chelsea. I think he's going to be. I think he's another one to really create some competition in that back line. I think it'll help Trent's evolution into a midfielder, and it'll be a good thing for Liverpool long term.
Oh, I think so, and it may mean, unfortunately, somebody's going to have to go.
Well, I think that's not a bad thing, and if you can cash in, you cash in, and you build and you expand that squad because the last thing, don't be too precious with your darlings. I think you got to when the time comes, you got to move on.
And 66 isn't going anywhere though,
right?
And I think ultimately Trent's going to end up as a central midfielder. He's not a 6.
He'll take the Thiago role after Thiago leaves this year. I think that's what he's suited for. That
Thiago actually came on.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
He
in the
led
category of I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. He led the team in thumbs ups. So that was
good. So real quick about and first of all, what happened Sunday is what had to happen for Arsenal really to have a chance. You can't be 8 points in arrears, right? You can't even be what 5? 5 in arrears.
5 was tough. Five was tough. I think a draw would have been okay. It wouldn't have been mathematically impossible. 8 obviously wouldn't have been mathematically impossible, but for psychologically and all intents and purposes, it's a 2-horse race. Now everybody's back in it, and given that they all play each other, it's on.
Yep, it's 100% on. And actually, this is, and I'll be perfectly honest, at the beginning of the year, I thought it was Arsenal and City. And having watched Liverpool kind of sometimes survive themselves, I think there is something to be said for always finding a way. And they, a lot of times, most of the time, all but once before Sunday, have found a way. The more I watch, the more I see that when Klopp subs on, he's getting his team better. Like this was the only time that when he brought subs on, Liverpool was not improving. And that was the difference in some of the absences. No Salah, obviously.
Well, coming into the game, though, I think that I looked at the two teams and I looked at the two benches and I was like, well, Liverpool have the stronger bench. They have.
Yeah, but they didn't.
they did. I mean, no, they did. At the end of the day, they did.
Who did they bring
Arsenal?
on?
Well, they brought on Nunez, Harvey Elliott. I mean, those are solid players.
Those two guys. But Nunez is not healthy. That was another thing.
He's coming off of his bruised foot.
Yeah, so
But
he's
he still did his thing.
he always
I
does.
obviously, and so, but yeah, I mean, you brought on Robertson, who is working his way back from fitness,
Yeah.
but Klopp's not putting him in that game if he's not able to give him something. And so,
Yeah,
I think
they didn't really have another option. He had to take Trent off.
sure, and
So
I think that you can say that in the same thing. I think both teams were missing key players that would have made influential changes.
no question
Having
about
to bring Kivior on in a game like this, and
Yep.
all credit to him, he came in and played excellent.
He did.
Almost got a goal there at the end, and was assured and did not have to play that inverted role because Jorginho did that. I think we got to talk about in the two biggest games of the year, Arteta selected Jorginho to start. Jorginho, Rice, Odegaard has been his preferred midfield
Right.
against
I
City
want
and
to
against
talk
Liverpool.
about that. I want to talk about that. I want to give Arteta some credit. But first, I need to ask you this. So Anthony Taylor
Mm-hmm.
earlier this year was demoted to the championship.
Right.
How does Anthony Taylor get that match? Because I'm telling you, I don't know how the first yellow was given to Konate. I thought the second one was more of a yellow. It was more white than yellow. But because the first one was given and he gives the second one, now Konate is out of match. And I don't get it.
So I'll say this. I thought they were both soft yellows. But for Anthony Taylor, one, he shouldn't be reffing in the Premier League, the PGMOL. That's on them. This is
How do
what
you
we
get
get.
that match?
I don't know. That said, honestly, the officiating was not a major factor. If
Those
anything,
were the only two yellows in the entire match.
well, no, Arsenal had 6.
Well, I'm sorry.
Arsenal faced a $25,000 fine because they got 6 yellows in that game. That's the rule. If you get over 5, so I don't want. I don't. So like he was calling it.
Sorry about that.
He gave Gabriel the yellow for blocking off a Liverpool player earlier, and then was consistent on those 2 Konate yellows because that was the exact same yellow he gave Gabriel.
Should never watch a game on fast forward.
Yeah. So he was fine. That said, he shouldn't be reffing in the Premier League because he's so inconsistent. This was one of the games where he was okay. I would not say he was good, but he did not affect the game in the traditional sense, other than obviously he gave a red,
the next one.
but he affects the next one. Yeah. He called this game fair, but I do think there was a penalty that I think was soft, but I think Havertz took a bad touch, but that doesn't excuse McAllister's clipping of his heels. And so it's probably a penalty, but he didn't give it. So they stuck with the call on the field. Same thing with the yellows. He gave that to Gabriel. So he gives it to Konate. And then the second yellow, he has no choice because he had made the precedent that if you break an attack up on the counter, I'm giving you a yellow. He did that routinely. Arsenal played that way where they broke up play. That's why they got a few of their yellows. And so, I don't want to go too deep into
no,
Anthony
I don't
Taylor.
either. It bothers me that Anthony Taylor gets that match.
That's another story altogether. But
it's a
good
thing.
Arsenal,
Liverpool hosts Burnley on I think it's Saturday. Not that you can't lose to anybody, but I think they only have 2 center backs. I
think they'll be all right.
I certainly hope they've. The last time they played at Burnley, I mean, they didn't pull it out until quite late. I think they scored 1 late, and then they got 1 in added time. I think it was Jota. Anyway, here's one thing. Here's what I wanted to say,
which makes it a little bit more of a fortress. So.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not worried about necessarily losing it, but I mean, Konate had been on such great form that I don't want him missing any match.
Sure.
Although it saves him an injury. Here's what I wanted to say about Arteta. I want to just set aside, we have 15 matches to go, and we're about to start getting into some rapid fire matches, and there's European competition as well to deal with. But at the end of December, early January, when Arsenal was going through their rough patch, you pointed it out. They looked gassed. They looked like they were just completely out of fuel. And partly it's because Arteta didn't trust his bench. Jorginho was getting very few, if any, starts. Emile Smith-Rowe in and out of, fitness, maybe not ready, but you've got guys in the team that he wasn't willing to use. In that FA Cup match, he started maybe lesser of a side than Klopp started, right?
Yeah.
Klopp played some. We had a lot of young guys in the team, but and at that point, it's said to me that like Arteta wasn't throwing the third round match, but he recognized then that if he doesn't start using his bench, that it's not going to end well. Now, my only fear is that we're going to be sitting here 2 months from now and those guys are all, because nobody added. Nobody, only Tottenham and Forest apparently has an unlimited budget, added in January. So that's my only fear, but I'm just kind of filing that away. But I was good for Mikel to start utilizing the whole squad.
Absolutely. I think that's critical, especially in the run-in. And I think, maybe there was something to that break, getting some of the other guys back into training, getting them in. I thought it was a really shrewd move. This is something we don't see from him, but he took Saka and Martinelli off, not for any other reason than he wanted fresh legs, and he brought in Trossard, who scored the goal, and Reece Nelson, showing he could trust the squad. He had Jorginho in the starting lineup. Kivior got in the game. So, all in all, hats off to him. And back to your point, every sub he made, the game plan and the ability to continue the press, the ability to continue to counter press Liverpool. Arsenal are out of possession right now, probably the best team in Europe without the ball. And that is a testament to the work they do in creating their shape and making sure that players know where to be. And I do think part of Arteta using a squad and getting that time with them for 2 weeks in Dubai is building some trust and building some understanding of different players being able to step in. And I think it's a great full circle moment for Kivior, who came on in the match at Anfield last year and had a mistake that led directly to a goal, to come on against Liverpool, 8 months later, his development, and looked 100% like he belonged on that pitch.
He has to be counted on.
Yeah, he does. And he will be.
You have no option.
Well, Tomiyasu's back from Asia. And so we'll have Tomiyasu and Kivior. And then it looks like Timber will start training next month.
Hey, training next month.
He'll start training this month, potentially be back at the end of March. So we'll have him for like a month, which could be important. Those April and May games are.
It's tough to come back from an ACL tear and as quickly as, it was first match he got hurt. By the way, this is what occurred to me. And I hope you take this, or hope he would take it as a compliment. Kai Havertz I don't know if he's better, but he's a little bit of like a German Darwin. Maybe not quite as good, but in that he can do a lot of the same things. He can cause enough chaos. That I think it can create problems. I don't like his finishing, but didn't I just describe Darwin? So I think, he should have scored the first goal.
Sure.
Right.
But Allison's phenomenal one-on-one. And so, credit to him.
When Trossard's in front of him. But he shot it right at him.
Yeah, he did.
So
and his finishing, I think that's more of a confidence thing where he's thinking a little too much instead of just going off of instinct. But what I think Kai really likes to do is, and this is a little Darwin in him, is that he likes to mess it up a little bit. He likes to be a little bit of a heel, and he doesn't mind the physical battles. He'll go in and he'll challenge. And I saw a really interesting stat where no player lost more aerial duels or more duels in that than Kai Havertz. He lost 18 duels. But here's the funny part about it.
He had 18.
Not all duels are created equal. A lot of those were him creating space for the second ball. And so Konate would win the header and it would drop right to Jorginho. And Kai basically let him get the win so that he could create basically a screen for the second ball.
I'm no Havertz fan.
Yeah.
So I think there's value to him, and I mean, part of me thinks
we also bounce off of him better. It's interesting. He can do the closest Jesus amalgam. Eddie and Nketiah can run the channels and be a traditional center forward. Trossard can be more of the a linker, but Havertz can do the physical and the grafting that Jesus does deeper in the pitch, and that really allows Saka and Martinelli to get in the game. And you saw both of them look more themselves than they have in a while.
Martinelli, Saka's been okay.
Yeah,
Martinelli went through a long stretch where he wasn't.
He's starting to find himself right now.
I agree.
Today, he had 2 goals. I think those 2 goals at the end of the Palace game really helped.
Oh, sure. You get your confidence going. I've incredible. I said at the beginning of the season, I thought that Arsenal had the best team. The Timber injury matters. The Partey injury still can't come back. Matters. But if Partey comes back, then I think you've got enough depth in the midfield, because right now I'm not sure there's enough depth in the midfield to make it all work. Although Declan Rice can play 112 minutes a game. Every game. And I know when we ask about who the best player in the Premier League is, very few people say Declan Rice, but he's on a short list. Rodri. I mean, I'm not going to even go much further than that. I think those guys are just absolutely awesome. All right, so handicap this race a little bit before we actually, or did we already do that? Here's Arsenal's next 3: at Hammers, at Burnley, home against Newcastle. Liverpool is Burnley, at Brentford, Luton. City's got 4 before the end of February because they have to make up the match against Bournemouth for playing in that FIFA Club World Cup. What a waste. Everton, Chelsea, Brentford, all at the Emirates, or at the Etihad. Sorry about that, Arsenal fans. And at Bournemouth. I don't see any drop points there for City.
Any of them. I don't see any.
I think Liverpool at Brentford could be an issue.
Maybe. I think that they have a little bit tougher. That might be your Liverpool fandom.
West Ham
peeping
West
through.
Ham for Arsenal coming after the win over Liverpool could be an issue. Yeah. You're favored. Liverpool will be favored at Brentford, but those are potential points drop. We can't afford to drop any points. Arsenal and Liverpool, because City's probably not going to drop a ton, other than what we take from them. Right.
I think so. I think both of them. I think it's City's title to lose, as always. And now they obviously have, if they get that game in hand, they've got a 3-point lead on Arsenal, 1-point lead on Liverpool.
One on Liverpool, right?
And 2. So you got 1, 2, 3. And I think that makes for interesting matches. Obviously, their goal differential will be superior, which will make it a little bit challenging. But we'll see what the thing that works in Liverpool's favor as this run-in comes in is kind of the intangible that we're talking about, and it's win one for the Gipper. Let's send Klopp out.
What a terrible Friday! It's 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
A week and a half ago.
So I guess the 29th, whenever that was. So yeah, a week and a half ago. 26, something like that.
Crushed.
But, I mean, he is a phenomenal individual and has been so good for the Premier League. He will be missed. He's the Pep will enter that group. But Klopp is that iconic manager associated with a club that we haven't seen, I think, since Wenger and Fergie left. I think Pep and Klopp are going to do that. Mourinho is an icon, but he bounced around so much that it's not quite the same.
You don't associate him with one club.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Chelsea the most, but even then, it doesn't feel like a natural home. Whereas Klopp is Liverpool. He understood the club. He breathed life back into the club. And I think he is going to get a lot out of this squad down the stretch. The only concern is with for City and Arsenal, they've got Champions League. Who do they draw? How do those matches fall as they have league matches? Liverpool don't have to worry about that. I think up until the Europa semifinals, there'll be cakewalk. And then
we'll see, but you don't know who they're going to draw.
Does the emotion for half a season now having to play for Klopp, how does that weigh on a team, and does that pressure get to them?
I don't think it will matter one way or the other. I really don't. Yeah. I don't think if they don't win any silverware, I don't think it will because
it won't tarnish his legacy.
Right.
But I wonder.
I'm not talking about legacy. I'm talking about. I don't think the emotion of doing it for them will drain them. Doing it for him will. I don't think, because I think while they're saying we want to send the boss out on a high, I mean they're playing for each other more than they're playing for the boss. It's really business as usual. I do, because I think they generally would play the same way regardless.
I don't know. I think that so we'll agree to disagree. I think we saw that with Duke and Coach K. I think you see these things when it's these farewell tours, and I think as much as you want to keep things as business as usual, because all you want to do is win every game regardless.
Right.
There is an added layer of we can't let him down. And how does that affect them? I don't know.
That would manifest itself in the last game, because that Duke team didn't have any problem.
I think it'll manifest as they get closer. It's not going to affect things now. I think as the season wears on and they get closer and closer to the title, if they're still in it, then I think that is where that's where you're going to see it.
Yeah, I don't think it'll hurt them in the EFL final against Chelsea at the end of the month.
Yeah,
I wish I could figure Chelsea out, but
who should get the next sack but can't is Pochettino.
No, who should go is Roy Hodgson.
Probably, but
they
can't fire Poch. Did you see that?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, he has too many players.
No, exactly. If they fire him, they will be in violation of Premier financial rules.
Really? Good.
Because his buyout is too big.
I don't think Pochettino is the problem. I don't know if he's the solution.
He's the answer either.
Right. I don't know if he's the solution, but I don't think he's the problem.
I think they have a deeper cultural problem at their club that they got to figure out, is who they are and who they want to be.
They've got how many players? Well, yeah, but how many players do they have on their side who are at 80 million pounds or more that just aren't that good?
Well, there's that, but I think that has to do that also comes down to the manager, because some of these players who are 80 million pounds and more, we all thought they were good and we all wanted them.
But
Fernandez.
Pochettino wasn't that. Pochettino didn't buy these guys.
No, but I think he wouldn't have gone into the situation if he didn't think he could work with them. And at the end of the day, with Poch, the one thing we got to start asking is, he did a great job with Tottenham, but he had prime Harry Kane and prime Son.
Right.
And
they fired him.
And he got them to the Champions League final, and he got them to second place with those two guys. Those are two of the best attackers the Premier League's ever seen in the 25-year history of the Premier League. They'll win you a lot of games. They've kept Tottenham relevant individually and together collectively for a better part of a decade. So at what point do we need to start looking at Pochettino and asking some serious questions about his CV? Because it didn't work at PSG. And then you're like, well, it's PSG. It doesn't work ever. Well, sometimes it does. I mean, they should not be where they are when they had the team they had with him. And then now at Chelsea, it's not working at all. And so it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out.
I don't think he's the problem. I just don't know if he's the solution.
I don't think he's the answer. I think Chelsea need to figure out what they want and then do the hard thing, which is invest in the players the manager that you have is asking for, and build a collective around them. That was one thing they were actually pretty good at with Abramovich, is they would build a collective around what the manager's needs were. They would turn over. They'd spend money. But
so much better under Abramovich than Todd Bowley. I agree. Yeah. Results tell you the story. So let me just run through this, and then I want to ask you who might be next at Liverpool. I have a couple of thoughts. First full year, and they had been in and out of the top four, mostly out the previous decade or so. First full year, fourth. Second full year, fourth Champions League final. Third full year, second Champions League champion. Fourth full year, first by a margin. Fifth year, third, then second. Last year, fifth. Now the rebuild. I mean, they're going to be back in Champions League, barring a massive array of injuries. And you said this. It's hard to completely rebuild a team, and it's not a complete rebuild because Robertson, even though he hadn't played, Trent and Van Dijk are there. Allison's there. Salah's there. The other guys are all kind of new. Jota, but the whole midfield has been rebuilt. So it's kind of, he calls it 2.0. It is an incredible job. I can't put it in historical perspective. But I know that for a club like Liverpool, which matters so much to so many, he is larger than life. They're going to name stuff after him.
Yep.
And
they should.
And he said he would never manage another English team. I've done a lot of reading about him. He is my kind of guy.
He's a romantic.
So he is. Yeah. I am team Jurgen Klopp. So who's next? How do you follow that?
Good luck. I mean, we had to go through the Unai Emery era, who's doing a great job at Villa, but wasn't the right fit for our club. Right. I think it's going to be hard. I think Liverpool have to ask themselves who they want to be. Again, this seems very philosophical and existential, but Klopp connected with that club and that fan base and what Liverpool is in a way that very few managers do and can. And it was a top-down buy-in where he also was able to get the sporting director and get the back infrastructure of the club in place in a way that he's able to get scouting. And so as you get into a post larger than life manager era, you have to figure out, do you go for another one? Do you go for a proven commodity stopgap? Or do you go for a reset and rebuild a culture around somebody else that gets you and can feed into that passion? I think those are some tough questions Liverpool is going to have to face. You know, when United moved on from Ferguson, he handpicked David Moyes to step in and never actually stepped away. And he's still a hovering presence over that club almost to the detriment of
I think it is.
Of whoever is in charge, because there's always going to be the shadow of Fergie.
Sir Alex is up here. Yeah.
Whereas you look at Wenger, he didn't come back until last season. That was the first time he had been back since he left. And he had built the club in his image and was larger than life and controlled every aspect of it. And now Arsenal have a structure where, while Mikel Arteta is the driving force Edu is the sporting director, and Per Mertesacker runs the academy, and Josh Kroenke is involved in decision making, and there's more of a unit. Our CEO is leaving, Vinay Venkatesham, at the end of this year, and now they're moving Michael Lewis, one of the directors, into that role, and so there's more of a collective effort, and you see how that's working. So I think it'll be fascinating to see what Liverpool decide to do. I know everybody wants Xabi Alonso, and he's done a phenomenal job at Bayern Leverkusen. I'd be a little wary of that, not because he's not a amazing
doing this
manager.
For 3 years.
Yeah, not because he's not an amazing manager, but the expectation of him stepping in after doing so well at Bayern is going to be near impossible for him to meet, because you're going to expect, I think the fan base is going to want someone to achieve the heights of Klopp, and I don't know if you can, because he won't play the same way.
No, he won't. That's the real problem, I think, with Alonso, unless he adapts to the players.
And he might. There's a happy medium, and I think, what are the numbers that matter to Liverpool? What are the numbers that matter to City? You want to be a hybrid. Arsenal seem to be kind of taking a mixed approach, where they're caring about possession, but do some of the counter pressing that Liverpool do. So
absolutely,
it's gonna be fascinating. If I were Liverpool, I would go after De Zerbi. I think he matches the passion and kind of the spirit of what Liverpool Football Club want to be, but he's not so big that you're going to immediately expect Klopp level success, but he will maintain and elevate and can win big trophies there for you if you give him the chance.
All right. There are three.
Or actually, Steven Gerrard who I really want.
Gosh, no. He just signed a 2-year extension with Al Ettifaq, so he's not coming back. Xabi would be good. I think he is the most Liverpoolish, based on
he played for Liverpool,
right? And he gets the club and all of that. De Zerbi plays, I think, the kind of football that Liverpool fans would dig, because they do. I mean, it's awesome to watch. I think he'd score a lot of goals, obviously, with the talent on hand. My fear with him is that the job might be too big for him. It's one thing to be at Shakhtar and then at Brighton. Liverpool's another element altogether. The one guy who has had some Premier League success in a short period of time is a club we've already mentioned. The club played today. I'd keep an eye on Thomas Frank.
I love Thomas Frank.
I do too, and that's part of when they're whole, and they're not whole. They've guys out with AFCON, and Bueno is out for the year, I think, with an injury. And he just got Ivan Toney back. But I wouldn't be completely shocked if that's where they went. I mean, does a language barrier matter when it comes to De Zerbi? I don't know. I don't know if it does or doesn't.
It doesn't, but I also think, Liverpool have a good foundation, and Klopp's leaving them in a strong place. But whoever the next manager is going to have to make some really tough decisions on Van Dijk, on Salah, and kind of decide what those moves are going to be as you got these two aging linchpins of championship squads that are icons of the club. I do not envy the position of that manager to come in. The other option is to go for now he won't come because I think he'll end up going to Brazil, but like an Ancelotti type that can come in, immediately command respect and
he's staying at
manage that group. But he's not coming to Liverpool right now. But that's the type of
he's not leaving him. He's not. He gets a chance to put number 7 on the pitch.
So that type of, not him, but that type of iconic manager that can come in. And you're only going to get him for 2 years. Now, Thomas Frank is who I want for the U.S. men's national team. That is the move I would go for. But,
that's I think ultimately they'll end up with one of those three.
Yeah.
And I'm not anti any of them. Look, Alonso plays a lot more of a possession style, a lot more like Barcelona, which is, Pep.
Mhm.
And a little bit slower, although they score plenty of goals.
Sure. But
So
it's the Bundesliga, so take that.
right.
I think that is
Goals are fun.
Yeah.
Goals are fun and winning is fun. And you deal with everything else. And you talked about, academy stuff. Liverpool's academy is spitting out talent.
Yep.
And there's 3 Dans, Danns. I watched highlights of a match and then read about some of the guys they have coming out of academy. They have Owen Beck, who's on loan. They have this kid Taylor's on loan. They got a lot of guys who are coming up, and obviously a good portion of them will be sold on
Yeah.
because you can't play everybody. But
And that's a good thing. That's a good
yeah.
thing for your academy to sell players to other clubs. That helps from FFP because it's pure
Yes,
profit.
it absolutely does.
And it's a big deal. So
No
no, I
question.
think it's a great thing. I think Liverpool, City, Arsenal, they're at the top of the league. They also probably have the 3 best academies right now in terms
Let me
of
ask you this question.
developing Premier League talent.
Let me ask you this question, not about Klopp, but before we go, I wanted to get your thoughts on this, and I'll ask it by giving you my opinion. I think Giovanni Reyna is in the wrong place. It's not that he won't be good at Nottingham Forest. I think he could be, but for somebody as physically brittle as he is, I don't think the Premier League is where Gio Reyna needs to be. If I were him, I would have tried to make my way to La Liga or Ligue 1. I don't know. I thought Marseille was interested. I know Sevilla came on and they were interested, but is it Nottingham Forest? He did come on, played the last 20 minutes of his first match with them. I'd love to see him do well. He needs to play, minutes because the United States needs him in the summer.
Yep.
But he also needs to stay healthy. And man, I'm afraid for him in the Premier League.
I think it's a reasonable fear. I really do. I think it also shows you the power of the Premier League. Because if you would have told me 2 years ago, 5 years ago, Sevilla, Forest, or Marseille, I'm going to Sevilla or Marseille. But
how do you not go to Marseille?
Yeah, but now it's a no-brainer. You come to the Premier League because you can get the wages.
Right.
Nottingham Forest can pay better wages. Luton Town can pay better wages than probably Marseille can right now.
By the way, shouts to Luton out of the drop zone.
8 goals in 2 games. All right.
Yep.
So I think
5-3 in their last 9 matches in all comps for Luton.
Good for them.
Yep.
Yeah, playing really well. But yeah. So I think you have to look. There's a twofold here. I do wonder what his wage package at Forest is relative to what the other clubs are offering. And that matters.
Sure.
And so,
but he's still under contract. Wasn't he still under contract?
But right? Like how much? Yeah. Is it a loan? Is it a straight loan?
No, it was a buy.
Okay.
I think it.
Then yeah.
Well, it might have been. It might have been a loan with option to buy. I don't know.
Yeah. But regardless,
no. I'm sorry.
Wages.
I didn't think there was an option. I think it was just straight loan.
Okay. So I think that he is all of your fears that you stated are valid, and I hear them and I see them. I think at the end of the day, it's a business decision to come to the Premier League. He's going to get more exposure. He had to get out of Dortmund, but he also, it's just more exposure, more marketability into the U.S. market as well. This was a business decision. This was not necessarily a sporting one.
Yeah, and Sevilla, by the way, is basically at the bottom of La Liga.
Yeah.
And they could get relegated out. No need being a Weston McKennie situation, who's lucky to go back to Juventus. He actually turned it around himself, but he's lucky that Juventus gave him the soft landing. I hope it works out. I actually think Forest is not going to go down. I think they're a dangerous team. They're not anything better than, low mid-table, but they've got a lot of players and a lot of weapons. Iwobi did I get that right? Awonyi. No, Awonyi is really good. Gibbs White is good. And if they can figure out how to make all of these pieces fit, then yeah, they'll be fine. They'll stay up. Everton is the team I'm worried about now, but that's because they are in an absolute tailspin with City calling, or going to City rather.
Yeah.
And they have they're 0-3-3 in their last 6 in the Prem. Not good. Not good.
Not
Bob.
ideal. Nope. You got to score goals, and that's what they have not done well. But you know what? Credit to Tottenham letting him back in. So good
yes, we
them.
won't talk about our picks. I am right now the only one who is in plus money territory, but I have the worst record.
Awesome.
Jack has the best record, but he's minus money, and we won't talk about anything else. And we'll just keep the picks to ourselves for now.
Sounds good.
Is that fair?
That sounds good to me.
What a disaster! Remember when we were good at this?
Yep.
It's a long time ago.
Well, now that it's actually getting to be legal in North Carolina, we're getting worse.
Good thing that the Liverpool City match is March 9th. So I won't bet that. I wouldn't bet on Liverpool with your money. I don't need. It's hard enough to watch when it matters. If it matters and I had money on it, no chance. I would never watch. All right, that's Jay, as you can see in the bottom of the screen. I'm Adam. We'll do this again next week. Let's not wait 3 weeks to do the next one.
Let's not. We're back.
All right, man. Yes, we are back.
All right.
Take care.
Take care.